Have you ever wondered what happens when two mighty worlds collide, when faith, power, and ambition all meet on the same land? This is the story of such a time when swords clashed, kingdoms rose and fell, and yet, in the quiet corners of cities and villages, something beautiful began to grow between people who were once seen as so different. The Delhi Sultanate began in 1206, when Qutb Aibak, a former slave who had risen through the military ranks, declared his independence and established his rule over Delhi. He had served under Muhammad of Ghor, who had led earlier invasions into northern India. After Muhammad of Ghor's death, Qutb took control of the conquered territories and laid the foundation of what became known as the Mamluk or slave dynasty. His rule was significant as it marked the beginning of Islamic political dominance in northern India. Qutb Aibak worked to consolidate power in Delhi and surrounding regions, establishing control over key cities and trade routes. His military campaigns focused on defending his new rule against rivals. But his reign was also known for religious policies that were often harsh toward non-Muslims. He initiated the construction of several mosques, including the famous Qutb al-Islam Mosque in Delhi, which was built from the remains of dismantled Hindu temples. The imposition of the jizya tax on non-Muslims became a source of tension during this period, marking the beginning of institutionalized religious taxation under Islamic rulers in India. Though Qutb Aibak ruled for only a few years, his reign set a precedent for subsequent Muslim rulers in the region. His rise from slavery to kingship became a remarkable story, showing how military strength and opportunity could transform social status during this era. His administration also marked the beginning of centralized Islamic governance in India, a significant shift from the fragmented political landscape dominated by regional Hindu kingdoms. His sudden death in 1210 during a polo game brought his brief rule to an end, but the legacy of the Delhi Sultanate had already been established, and it would continue to expand and evolve under his successors, shaping the history of India for the next 3 centuries. During the era of the Delhi Sultanate, the relationship between Hinduism and Islam was shaped by both violent confrontations and moments of coexistence. The early rulers of the Sultanate, such as those from the Mamluk dynasty, often enforced Islamic laws strictly and viewed the expansion of their faith as part of their duty. Non-Muslims, primarily Hindus, were subjected to the jizya tax, a levy on those who did not convert to Islam. Many temples were destroyed during military campaigns, especially when cities were captured or kingdoms were subdued. These acts created deep resentment among Hindu communities, as temples were not only places of worship but also centers of learning and social life. However, beyond the battlefield and political decrees, interactions between the two communities began to develop. In daily life, many Hindus continued their traditional roles as farmers, merchants, and artisans under Muslim rule, while some even served in the Sultanate's administration and army. In some cases, local rulers were allowed to govern their territories under the larger authority of the Sultanate in exchange for tribute and loyalty. Sufi saints played a unique role during this period. Unlike the strict religious officials in the court, many Sufis promoted ideas of love, tolerance, and spiritual unity, which attracted followers from both Hindu and Muslim backgrounds. Their teachings, often delivered through poetry and song, found common ground between the two religions, especially in rural areas. Markets and trade also became places where people from both communities worked side by side, gradually leading to a degree of cultural exchange. Though the era was marked by religious tensions and battles for power, there were also many stories of shared festivals, local agreements, and a slow blending of customs that began to shape the unique cultural fabric of India during and after the Delhi Sultanate period. The expansion of the Delhi Sultanate was driven by powerful rulers who aimed to extend their territories and strengthen their control over the Indian subcontinent. Among these rulers, Alauddin, Khilji, stands out as one of the most ambitious and aggressive. He became sultan in 1296 after seizing the throne through a violent coup and immediately began military campaigns to secure his rule. His army launched large-scale invasions into various regions, including Gujarat, Malwa, and Ranthambore, and even advanced deep into the Deccan Plateau. Alauddin Khilji's forces plundered temples, captured fortresses, and collected immense wealth from the kingdoms they defeated. His invasion of the southern kingdoms, especially Devagiri and Warangal, marked the first major attempt by a northern Muslim ruler to dominate southern India. These campaigns caused widespread destruction, particularly to Hindu temples and cities, and the wealth obtained through these raids strengthened the Sultanate's power. However, Alauddin was not solely focused on warfare. He implemented strict economic and administrative reforms to maintain control over his empire. He regulated market prices to prevent inflation, enforced strict measures against corruption, and kept a strong grip on the nobility to prevent rebellions. He also expanded the intelligence network and established a large standing army to secure his territories from both internal uprisings and external invasions, particularly from the Mongols. His rule, though often marked by cruelty and harsh punishments, also showed exceptional administrative skill and military strategy. Under Alauddin Khilji, the Delhi Sultanate reached its greatest territorial extent until that time. While his campaigns were devastating for many Hindu kingdoms, they also left a lasting impact on the political map of India, as he brought large parts of the subcontinent under centralized rule for the first time, setting a precedent for future rulers to follow. Throughout the Delhi Sultanate period, many Hindu kingdoms actively resisted the expansion of Muslim rule, fiercely defending their territories, culture, and religion. The Rajputs were among the most prominent defenders in northern and western India. Known for their warrior spirit and strongholds in Rajasthan, the Rajput clans engaged in repeated battles with the Sultanate armies. Cities like Ranthambore and Chittagong became symbols of Rajput bravery and sacrifice. Despite facing sieges, destruction, and massacres, the Rajputs continued to resist and often regrouped after defeats, maintaining their cultural identity through their traditions and martial practices. In the Deccan and southern India, the rise of the Vijayanagara Empire became a powerful symbol of Hindu resistance, established in the 14th century by Harihara and Bukka. Vijayanagara emerged as a stronghold against the advance of the Sultanate. Into the south, the empire not only halted the Sultanate's southern campaigns but also reclaimed several territories lost to earlier invasions. Vijayanagara flourished as a center of Hindu art, architecture, and culture, with grand temples and palaces demonstrating its wealth and spiritual devotion. Apart from the Rajputs and Vijayanagara, several smaller kingdoms and regional powers also resisted the Sultanate's control through local uprisings and defensive alliances. Kingdoms in Orissa, Bengal, and the Himalayan regions fought to maintain their independence against the Sultanate's forces. The resistance was not limited to military actions alone. Cultural resistance also played a significant role. Hindu scholars, poets, and temple builders continued their work, preserving ancient scriptures and traditional arts even during turbulent times. Despite facing heavy taxation, destruction of temples, and political subjugation, many of these kingdoms survived for long periods and remained significant players in Indian politics. Their continuous defiance served as a reminder that the Sultanate's rule, though widespread, was constantly challenged by determined Hindu powers across the land. During the Delhi Sultanate period, cultural fusion gradually developed despite the ongoing conflicts and religious tensions between Hindus and Muslims. This period saw the emergence of Indo-Islamic architecture, blending Persian, Central Asian, and Indian designs. Structures such as mosques, tombs, and forts incorporated Indian motifs, stone carvings, and local craftsmanship alongside Islamic arches, domes, and calligraphy. One of the most famous examples of this fusion is the Qutb Minor complex in Delhi, which showcases both Islamic inscriptions and reused elements from Hindu temples. Along with architecture, new languages and literary traditions began to take shape. The Persian language, used by the Sultanate's court and administration, mixed with local dialects, eventually giving rise to Urdu, a language that combined elements of Persian, Arabic, Turkish, and native Indian tongues. This language became a symbol of cultural blending, used in poetry, music, and daily communication among people from different backgrounds. Sufi saints also played a crucial role in promoting spiritual connections across religious lines. Their teachings, often centered on love, compassion, and the unity of mankind, attracted large numbers of followers from both Hindu and Muslim communities. Through their poetry, music, and simple ways of life, Sufi saints spread ideas that transcended rigid religious boundaries, leading to the creation of shrines visited by people of various faiths. In marketplaces and towns, Hindus and Muslims worked together as traders, artisans, and farmers, creating spaces where cultural exchange became inevitable. Over time, these interactions shaped local customs, festivals, and artistic styles, blending traditions from both communities. Despite political and religious conflicts, many parts of society witnessed shared social practices, culinary traditions, and forms of dress that reflected this fusion. The Delhi Sultanate period became a foundation for the deeper cultural interactions that would later flourish under the Mughal Empire, leaving a lasting legacy on India's heritage. The Delhi Sultanate came to an end in 1526 following the defeat of its last ruler, Ibrahim Lodi, at the First Battle of Paniput. This battle was led by Babur, a descendant of both Timur and Genghis Khan, who came from Central Asia with an army equipped with advanced military tactics and firearms, including cannons. Ibrahim Lodi, the ruler of the Lodi dynasty, was facing growing internal dissent among his nobles and subjects due to his harsh policies and authoritarian rule. Despite commanding a much larger army than Babur, Lodi's forces lacked unity and effective leadership, which played a key role in their defeat. Babur's disciplined troops, along with his use of field artillery and strategic positioning, overwhelmed the Sultanate forces. The battle resulted in the death of Ibrahim Lodi on the battlefield, effectively ending the Delhi Sultanate's rule after more than 3 centuries. This victory marked the beginning of the Mughal Empire in India, ushering in a new era of governance, culture, and military dominance. The fall of the Delhi Sultanate also represented the collapse of the last significant phase of Afghan and Turkic rule in northern India. In the years leading up to its fall, the Sultanate had already been weakening due to internal rivalries, corruption, and frequent revolts by provincial governors and regional kingdoms. The later rulers of the Sultanate struggled to maintain control over distant regions, and their authority was largely confined to Delhi and its surrounding areas. The fall of the Sultanate allowed for the reorganization of political power in India, shifting from fragmented rule to a more centralized administration. Under the Mughals, though the Delhi Sultanate ended, its cultural, architectural, and administrative influences persisted in India, shaping the structures and policies adopted by the Mughals and leaving a lasting imprint on the subcontinent's history. The story of the Delhi Sultanate is a powerful reminder of how deeply history shapes the world we know today. It was a time of great conflict, with battles fought for power, land, and faith. Hindu kingdoms and Muslim rulers struggled against each other, and many lives were changed forever. But even within those difficult times, something else was quietly happening. People from different backgrounds began to learn from one another, sharing art, language, music, and everyday traditions. New cities were built, new ideas were born, and slowly, a new culture began to take shape. The Delhi Sultanate may have been ruled by swords and thrones, but it also showed how human hearts can find ways to connect across differences. When the Sultanate finally ended, it left behind not just stories of war, but also memories of resilience, creativity, and unexpected unity. History is not just a list of rulers and dates, it is also the story of people trying to live together, to protect what they love, and to create something lasting. And this story, just like every story in history, asks us to remember both the struggles and the hopes that shaped it. Asterisk.